SMCI and NVDA. Tomorrow we have NVIDIA earnings, so I'll be going over some expectations going into that. Ultimately, I will say NVIDIA's earnings could be make or break for the market for the next week or so. Also, going into SMCI's 10K release, they did release that today. We're going to be going over some big factors there. Ultimately, you are seeing upside no matter what we cover. You are seeing buyers step in. I'm just going to tell you that this 10K is interesting, and you might want to read it before you do anything crazy. Now, okay, so from the outside looking in at this, we get a lot of information, but I think when you look directly at it and you're looking just at the numbers, cool, you got what you needed to see. It's worth mentioning that this technically hasn't been approved yet. It's just been filed, which is good. That's what you at least bare minimum wanted. Now, you start really digging into this, they start talking about their overall sales, the year-over-year increase of net sales in the regions outside of the United States. It's mainly due to the increase in net sales to Singapore, Taiwan, South Africa, and Germany. Now, again, I don't think Germany and South Africa are the big areas there. I think Singapore, Taiwan are the most interesting things here. And the question is have they done anything illegal or are giving things like they were talking about with DeepSeek that could be breaking the law? Now, again, they didn't go too in detail, but very interesting nevertheless. Now, again, there's a lot here that I could start unpacking, but it's very important that we look at some of the biggest things right now. Number one, we have identified material weaknesses in our internal control over financial reporting, which could, if not remediated, adversely affect our ability to report our financial condition and results of operations in a timely and accurate manner. Okay, so it's important to understand they have acknowledged where the issues are. Now, the question you're asking is, have they fixed those? Right? Have they fixed those issues? Now, they don't answer that very directly in my personal opinion. Not a good overall look. The deeper you dive into this, we've concluded that our internal revenue over financial reporting was not effective as of June 30th, 2024 due to the existence of material weaknesses, which we were talking about earlier. And then they go a little bit further and say down here, we cannot provide assurances that our remediation efforts will be adequate to allow us to conclude that such controls will be effective in the future. This is a crazy statement. Again, you have to dig all around in this to look at this. This took a lot of time just to go into, but again, that is criminal. That is crazy. Moreover, because of this inherent limitations of any control system, material misstatements due to error or fraud may not have been prevented or detected on a timely basis or at all. I mean, are we reading the same thing? This is, if we are unable to provide reliable and timely financial reports in the future, or if our financial statements are reinstated, they're basically saying this might just keep happening. Our business and reputation may be further harmed. Restated financial statements and failures in internal controls may also cause us to fail meeting reporting obligations, negatively affect our investors and customer confidence in our management, and results in adverse publicity and concerns from our investors and customers, any of which have a negative effect on the price of the common stock, subject us to regulatory investigations, potential penalties, stockholder litigation, yada, yada, yada. I mean, they're basically just saying this is not solved. Like, you can read all you want. That is basically what's being said here. That is crazy. That's crazy. And this is like just the tip. You could go deeper in. I could go into this all night long. This is crazy. This is crazy. The more I look into it, the more I look. And again, you can just go into this as long as you want. Okay. The last thing I'll cover, management has identified certain material weaknesses in our internal control over financing policy. And material weakness and they describe what a material weakness is, by the way. A deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in the internal control over financial reporting. And internal control over financial reporting. Such that there's reasonable possibility that the material misstatement of our annual interim consolidated financial statements will not be prevented or not appropriately identified, designed, or implemented. They go further in this as well. Okay. Controls the justice segregation of duties, conflicts with not properly designed or appropriately implemented. Do they go all into this? So Point of the story. And then it's also important to say right here, as of the date hereof, we have not remediated any of those weaknesses. So it's saying for 2024, they were the weaknesses, right? Described above. As of the date hereof, which I'm assuming is today, they have not done any of that. Okay? Which is kind of what we covered. But this is the most important statement. So far, the issues have not been solved. It seems like they did a plug and play so far looking at this, and they are trying to just fulfill what they need to. A lot of the comments that I was getting on my previous videos was that SMCI was taking their time to make sure they did this the right way, which I was benefit of the doubt, sure. They did not. You can go read this for yourself, do your own research, as always. But I will tell you, SMCI, you are finding buyers. Am I drinking the Kool-Aid? I am not. I'm not. I would keep your eyes open for the response that they get from this. I don't understand how anyone could love what they saw. Again, when you look at reporting numbers, it's like lipstick on a pig, but I don't love it. Okay. So again, as you look at SMCI, you're back above the 200 SMA, which in my opinion is huge. If you can stay above the 200 SMA from a technical viewpoint, that is what you want to see from a just technical looking at the chart. That's huge, right? You got above it last time. You shot from 53 into 67. That's huge. But looking at this, I don't necessarily think it's good. I don't know how you trust them as a company. I am kind of appalled that they would release something like this. Pretty crazy. Okay. So that's my opinion there. Well, I'll keep tracking and give you guys updates, but I don't know why. I hope other people talk about it. NVIDIA. NVIDIA has earnings going into Wednesday, or no, actually at the after hours on Wednesday, as you guys can see here as well. So that will be important going into tomorrow in the after hours. It's the most important thing tomorrow. I could care less about anything else. So I'd be tracking that closely. I'll have updates for you on Twitter as earnings do happen. You also have Snow, which I think will be interesting as well, and CRM Salesforce. Those could be really nice plays as well. As far as the cloud sector, we love the cloud sector so far. I'll tell you right now, people are going to ask me expectations for NVIDIA earnings. Personally, I think they beat. I think they have good earnings. You've seen nothing but good outlooks coming out about the stock regarding increased sales, increased customers, etc. You've also kind of seen management be quiet. I think expected earnings are $38 billion. I think they come in closer to $40 billion. This is what you want to see. The icing on the cake here on NVIDIA, I will also say, you look at NVIDIA here, I will say you're at your 200 daily moving average. Like if you're going to bounce, this is where you want to bounce. You're possibly putting in a higher low. I will say you're still making lower highs on higher time frames, but you're getting a dip into earnings. Historically, you don't get too many dips into NVIDIA earnings. So again, it's another check on the box, right? That's what you want to see. So I will say NVIDIA, it has the signs of things that you would like to see. I don't love to see big runs into earnings because I think it kind of diminishes the potential opportunity for the stock. So I do like to see this. And if you have good earnings, the idea is hopefully you break over 140.7 and start pushing towards all-time highs. Big pullback on the stock market as well. So definitely watching that. So things across the board that I'm really watching. I will say semiconductors as a whole, really weak across the board. But again, NVIDIA earnings could definitely change that completely. So I'm definitely watching it. Now, anyone asking here, am I playing NVIDIA earnings? Am I trading their earnings? 99% chance I will not be trading their earnings. I'll trade the day after. That's the logical thing to do, in my opinion. That's what I will be doing. That's how I'll be attacking the market. My personal opinion. Now, across the board, just a quick update on a few stocks and things you guys have been tracking and watching over the past few days. Some of these small caps you guys have been asking me about, right? Palantir coming back into the key level we talked about, $85, $86. Like we assumed, under $100 down to 86, 85 makes sense. Stock, you actually broke below 45. You came closer down to 35, 36. Really interesting. Would be watching that as well there, dipping in the after hours. Very interesting. One of the biggest names I'm watching right now as far as large caps is actually Amazon. I totally could be wrong here in Amazon, and I'm totally open to being wrong. Just like, we had Bob, we had a few other trades, but, those went our way. So looking at Amazon, I'm very interested in the reaction at the 100 daily moving average here going into tomorrow. Very interesting, I will say. NVIDIA earnings are tomorrow in the after hours, so it's going to be hard to be in anything going into the close of tomorrow, especially on the downside. But yeah, I will say Amazon is very interesting. Pretty nice dip, bouncing back up. 200 MA down there, 198, 200. I think it's one of the most interesting trades out there. Would be watching that. You also have Tesla down near $300. Couldn't really hold below. Anytime you got below $300, buyers stepped in very quickly and aggressively on volume. So again, buyers are trying to hold you above $300. Could be very interesting. I would also be watching for a retest of 325 on a name like Tesla personally. Okay. Again, the rest of the market, we saw a lot of blood across the board. MicroStrategy went deep down into 250, could go down to 230. We'll see. But again, what I'm really watching, being patient here. I will say one of the biggest concerns out in the market right now, I've talked a lot about this. It is 100% in the Dow. The Dow is sitting at a major level right now. It's sitting at a major level. So you got below your 100 MA. You're holding now at around 43.5, kind of like a little wall line in the sand here. If you lose 43.5 and hold below that on a higher time frame, a 2-hour, 4-hour, 1-day chart, I believe this will come down to the 200 SMA as well, near 42.6, 42.5. And I think it'll be it's about 1,000 points drop there as well. So I would definitely be watching. I think overall you're on a massive support. You're seeing buyers step in. That's what you wanted to see. You can go to something like the daily chart here. You can look at volume here as well. You are seeing an uptick in volume at support. That's a good sign. But we need to get more information and watch closely what's happening. So the next 24 hours, I think, will be very important. I think they'll be kind of make or break for the market in the short term as well. But really what I'm watching out there right now, there's nothing really fundamentally that's changed too much. I'm just being patient here with NVIDIA earnings. And I think NVIDIA earnings couldn't come out at a more important time. Keep your head on a swivel. That's my opinion. Broad market viewpoint. SMCI, you're gonna get a good reaction just off this data. But again, I don't like the 10K. I really feel like this is a fraudulent company more now than ever. I cannot believe they released that statement. If anyone tells you they like love the company and they looked at that statement and they're bullish off of it, best of luck to them. But again, if you like it, you can make money off of it. Not denying that. But again, don't like the statement whatsoever. Very, very skeptical. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.